ethics and law.
So, today everyone, today we are going to discuss the chapter 8, which is all about the ethics and law. So, to begin with, ethics and law are closely related as ethics deals with morality, which is a norm or law of conduct that distinguishes right from wrong. Law, which is crystallized ethics, governs the actions of individuals, groups, tribes, and nations. The nature of law significantly influences duty and moral obligation, making it essential to understand the philosophy of law, to understand the possible moral obligation to obey the law. So, ano nga bang ibig sabihin dito ng ethics and law? So, sinasabi dito na um, these two, or the ethics and law, are intertwined and distinct concepts na kumbaga ang ethics at law ay dalawang bagay na magkaunay ngunit may pagkakaiba. Ethics here refers to moral principles and values that guides us, that guide behavior, often shaped by culture and personal beliefs. While law, on the other hand, consists of rules and regulations enforced by a governing authority. Excuse me. So sabi dito, while some ethical principles may influence laws, not all ethical values are enshrined in legal systems and vice versa. So ano nga ba ibig sabihin nun? This means that although there is an overlap between ethical principles and laws, not all ethical values is tahasang isinasama sa mga legal frameworks, at hindi lahat ng mga batas or laws are necessarily aligned with specific ethical beliefs. Balancing ethical considerations and legal obligations is crucial for individuals like us and societies. So, I have an example. So, this example highlights the intersection of ethics and law. Example is the duty of confidentiality. So, paano nga ba dito pumapasok yung ethics and law? Sa duty of confidentiality in professions, ethically, maintaining client or patient confidentiality is seen as crucial trust building measure. Why? Kasi dito na natin parang bilang isang professional, or example bilang isang doctor, we need to build trust within our patient. Why? Because napakahalaga nito. Mahalaga ito sapagkat dito, having trust with the patient, or yung ang pagkakaroon ng trust ng patient sa'yo is parang mahalaga nga kasi na what's that? So para hindi mailang yung patient, para hindi siya mahiya na mag-consult sa'yo, magsabi ng mga nararamdaman niya, what he or she feels within his or her body. Parang hindi siya mahihiyang lumapit anytime na may need siya ipa-consult, is talagang sa'yo siya pupunta kasi na nandun yung trust meron siyang trust pagdating sa'yo. So, this principle is reflected in laws, specifically in a doctor-patient confidentiality, wherein the legal frameworks enforce the protection of sensitive information. Excuse me. sensitive information shared within these professional relationships. So, dito na pumapasok yung, di ba may act tayo na nag-go-govern about doctor-patient confidentiality. Ito yung act na Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. So, parang kapag kung ano yung malaman mo or kung ano yung napag-usapan niyo ng patient, paano mo nagkikisulta sa pagpapag-consult niya sa'yo, is sa inyo lang yun. At hindi mo yung makakalabas pa sa iba. Kasi nga, parang, ano yun eh, kasi diba there are times na may mga results talaga na parang hindi siya basta-basta dapat makalabas. Katulad na lang yun, diba kapag nagkaroon ka ng AIDS or the HIV, diba? Halos karamihan sa patient natin is ayaw nila na parang malalaman ng iba na meron silang ganitong sakit kasi feeling nila or pakiramdam nila sa sarili nila is nandidirihan sila na nakararami. So, excuse me. Thus, the ethical value of confidentiality aligns with and is reinforced by legal obligations. So, another example is the environmental protection. So, in ethics, masasabi natin siyang ethics kapag we value the environmental sustainability and stewardships. While sa law, dito na pumapasok yung legislation regulating pollution, waste disposal, and conservation. So these examples highlights how ethical considerations often influence the creation and evolution of laws, shaping societal norms and behaviors. So, ethics and law have a lot of differences. Excuse me. Have a lot of differences, and I just put in my presentation only two, and one of those is that ethics are a set of moral values an individual establishes for one's self and your own personal behavior, while laws are structured rules utilized to govern all of society. So, sabi dito, in ethics daw, when it comes to ethics, it emphasizes that ethics are personal framework of moral values that an individual defines for themselves, kung saan ito yung humuhubog sa ating pansariling pag-uugali based on our self-established principles. So, hina-highlight din nito yung subjective or individual's nature of ethical choices. While law is ito yung nagsiserve as organized guidelines implemented by a governing body to regulate and control the behavior of individuals within our society. So sa laws is, or ang mga batas is nakadesenyo para mag-provide ng structured framework para sa maayos at makatarungang lipunan. So the last one is excuse me. The second one is that ethics has no such binding on the people, while law creates a legal binding. So, dito sa pagkakaiba na ganito na ang ethics law has no such binding, while law creates legal binding. Sabi dito sa ethics does not have compulsory influence on individuals, implying that people may not feel obligated to adhere to ethical principles. So pagdating sa ethics, we have our free will. Excuse me, we have our free will. Nakadepende na sa atin kung alin yung parang alin yung mas natin yung gagawin natin kung doon ba tayo sa good or sa bad, or it depends on us kasi free, nga tayo, we have our free will here pagdating sa ethics. Well, law, it established a mandatory obligation or requirement, implying that individuals are bound by legal rules and must comply with them. So sa laws, it is mandatory. So all of us or each of us should follow the law. Kasi if we didn't follow, we might face consequences in the end. May mga consequences tayo kaharapin or mga parusa kapag hindi tayo sumunod sa batas. So, let's proceed with the metaphysical basis of law. From a metaphysical perspective, every being has its unique nature and intrinsic worth, making everything good because it has a natural law. This view of reality is not based on subjective optimism, but on the sciences, which provide laws that govern the movements of all things, from the smallest electron to the largest star. This perspective is not merely based on human preference for simplicity. So, sinasabi dito, excuse me, sinasabi dito na metaphysical perception means that the perception of something is beyond human perception. In metaphysical perspective, every human being or every being has its unique nature. It means that every person is different and is one of its type. Yung intrinsic worth naman dito is that ang sinasabi naman dito ng intrinsic worth is that as a human being, we are valuable on on our own. So, for example, think of this way. Isipin mo, like how God looks at every person, di ba? Whatever we do, whatever we have done, or what other things of us, we are still valuable to God, di ba? And that's for metaphysical basis of law. Excuse me. So, next one is general concept of law. Law refers to the rules or norms that govern the nature and actions of things, such as triangles and physics. These laws govern all beings in the universe, including living and non-living beings. In a more restricted sense, law refers to the free acts of rational beings governed by the rule of reason and conscience. This leads to the concept of the eternal law, which binds people to do good and avoid evil. So, sinasabi naman dito sa general concept of law is that in ethics and law, the general concept revolves around the idea that legal systems are intertwined with ethical considerations. So, in-explore nito yung relationship between moral principles and the formulation, interpretation, and the enforcement of laws. So, next one is the eternal law. It is the voice of reason within every person, teaches them to do good and avoid evil, a distinction that is immediately perceived by reason. This voice, though weak, always asserts and tells us of the law. The law of conscience, which we are conscious of and bound to obey, is not for our own making, as it often contradicts our inclinations. The moral law is not made by us, but rather by a higher source and authority, the supreme law giver. The moral law is the eternal law, the law of God, made known to man by reason, and it is absurd to think that one can be inferior and superior at the same time. So, sa eternal law, parang sinasabi naman dito is yung about the law of God, wherein some would say that a person is born of a good seed. So it means that we have our conscience na tumutulong sa atin na malaman or gawin kung alin nga ba yung tama at mali. We have this conscience. So say for example, you are alone and no one else sees you. So parang you want to excuse me, and you want to do something. So you will have this, syempre, you will have these ideas in your mind. So, then yung voice inside you will guide you on what is good. And say for example, you do the opposite. You did the opposite to what the voice of reason is telling you. So, dito na, kapag ginawa mo yung mali, is dito na makakaramdam ka ng kasamaan or pagiging guilty. And yun na yung tinatawag natin conscience. And dito na rin pumapasok yung sinasabing free will na we have, it's our choice to do something, whether it is good or bad. Then next one is the physical and moral law. So the law requires being promulgated or made known to the subject. The eternal law is embedded in creatures and is made known to humans through reason or conscience, known as the natural moral law. This law is the same with eternal law made known to humans by reason. God has written his law on the heart of humans, while other creatures, inanimate and irrational, have their own laws based on their nature. There is a difference between the physical and natural moral law. In the physical law, there is no freedom of choice, as inanimate objects act invariably according to the law. In contrast, in the natural moral law, man has freedom of choice and is the master of his actions, while man is morally bound to do good. There is always the possibility that he may not act as he should and prefer evil to good. So, dito naman, yung natural moral law is also like is alike with the eternal law. Eternal law is within us. It was made by God. It was made known to us. Ito yung tumutulong sa atin to do and act good. But still, we have our free will, which means we may do something opposite to it. So, in physical law naman, we don't have choice. Think of the laws. Say for example, sa batas ng Pinas, we are obliged to follow or otherwise we will be punished. So also, additional sa eternal law, when we keep on ignoring our conscience or yung voice inside us, the voice will become weaker and weaker until we can no longer hear it. Parang it means that we will just prefer to do evil because we kind of don't get the consequence right away. Parang ano din, yung kasabihan na whatever you feed, it grows. So, depende na lang sa atin kung alin yung lagi natin i-feed. Kung yung good ba or yung bad. So, that's all for my part. And thank you for watching.